be real, keep it 100. Caitlin Clark has been on the receiving end of this sort of stuff way too much.
One photograph is currently making the rounds on the internet, and no one can stop talking about it. A fist closed. Put pressure on the throat of the most significant player in women's basketball in a long time. There was no call, whistle, or response from the officials present, and the league did not take any action until the following day, after millions of people had already viewed the video. That picture is a symbol more than merely a moment from a basketball game, and based on what the WNBA happens next, it might ultimately define a whole period of this league's history, and not in a way that anyone should be proud of. Consider what it will take for a sports narrative to stand out in 2026. Everyone is vying for attention at all times. Nevertheless, this narrative, this instance, and this picture became the only topics of discussion in the sports world. For a full week. Social media posts with millions of views, late-night radio, ESPN panels, coaches, people who had never watched a WNBA game in their life, analysts, and former players all stopped to offer their opinions. That degree of saturation is not accidental, rather, it results from something visceral and indisputable landing in front of people, and when they observe it, they are unable to reconcile what they are witnessing with what they were informed was taking place.
Whether it's from Kennedy Carter at the very beginning, or Marina Mabrey last year, or Alyssa Thomas today, way too often she's been on the receiving end of this stuff, and she's getting called for fouls for having her arms straight up in the air and getting technicals for clapping. And then there was the closeouts, reckless closeouts, whatever you want to call them. And I posted earlier today, she's gonna get hurt. If this keeps up, she got hurt, back issue.
How many times is Caitlin Clark going to get cheap shotted by the same 3 or 4 players over and over and over and over again before the refs do anything about it?
We're going to dissect every single event that took place this week because this is a larger and there are more levels to this than most people realize, and it did not begin with the game on Wednesday night. There is context that exacerbates the situation rather than improves it, and the league has been dodging certain questions for 2 years that are now unavoidable. If you're new here, please press the subscribe button and give this video a like. Now, let's get started. This is the kind of narrative that should be viewed by as many people as possible. To understand how we got here, you must go back to Monday, June 23rd, entering this game against Caitlin Clark was playing the finest basketball of her career for the Phoenix Mercury, scoring at least 20 points in a number of games. And 5 assists, a run that no WNBA player had ever achieved, according to the record books. Prior to returning from an injury-interrupted season, she was second in assists per game and third in points per game in the entire league. 2025 campaign and appeared totally focused, the kind of focus that makes discussions about MVP seem inevitable, rather than theoretical. Caitlin Clark was the driving force behind the Indiana Fever's construction of something tangible. Defenses were frantically trying to restrict her, but they were largely unsuccessful. 6 games in a row with a score of 20-5 is not an impressive run. That's what occurred on Monday. Clark got tangled close to the free throw in the fourth quarter. Line with Duana Bonner, who had been her colleague until to last season's public frenzy and messy breakup.
Position, but I mean, Caitlin Clark issued a technical foul. You hear the foul react, and Clark is perplexed and shocked as to why she was assisted technical.
She applauded after Clark was called for a personal foul, which was already causing controversy in the building. That was it. She gave a clap, the kind of reflexive, irritated, competitive clap that players give every night in every professional basketball stadium. Gerda Gatling, an official, immediately gave her a technical foul.
Illegal contact is initiated by Caitlin Clark. She comes across the arm, into the body and hip of Thomas.
It is quite unbelievable what transpired after the place erupted. In just 8 seconds, 5 additional technical fouls were issued. Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, Maisha Hines-Allen, and Alyssa Thomas all received one. Hines-Allen then picked up her second technical of the evening on the very next possession and was removed from the game after 6 technical fouls in less than 10 seconds. The entire situation was chaotic, but Clark was unable to let this one go. That response makes perfect sense considering what the league had been doing to her throughout the season. She went directly to the cameras after the game and didn't hold back. She claimed to have asked the official specifically why she was given a technical penalty, and the justification offered was that she was provoking and clapping.
We got the tech tonight, 5th of the season.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I got a technical for clapping. So, like, if we should all just go on the calendar now and pick a game that I'm going to be suspended for if I'm going to get technicals for clapping. I asked Gerda. Gerda said that I got a technical for clapping. So, if any technical should be taken away, it should be that one. If it's truly for clapping, that's what they said they gave it to me for was for clapping. So it's just ridiculous. I don't understand it at all.
She informed the referee, "You just don't like competitive," since she thought that was so ridiculous. Basketball. "It's absurd," she added, adding that the league had to put a date on the calendar for her suspension right now, as the math was already pointing to the fact that she would continue to receive technicals for clapping. Somewhere awful. She publicly identified Gerda Gatling as the accountable official and fought for a speedy appeal, which most likely resulted in an extra fine on top of the $1,000 penalty already imposed. She did not appear to be especially. She expressed concern about that and made it obvious that she would continue to play with emotion, with fervor. The league had a problem if they wanted to give her technicals for that. In its hands.
"I called it, that she would be targeted."
This is the bit that sticks the most. Earlier in the 2026 season, Dallas Wings guard Paige Bueckers earned a technical foul for doing the exact same thing, clapping, and the WNBA reviewed and revoked the call. Deleted from the record. There would be no repercussions, no penalties, and no suspension. However, when Clark's identical circumstances came under scrutiny, the league upheld the decision. Her 5th technical in 17 games was confirmed, and 8 more resulted in an automatic. The calendar abruptly became very apparent. 1-game suspension. And that double standard? This discrepancy, which was visible to all for comparison, caused a certain amount of annoyance. They had nowhere left to go. They was on Monday. Things drastically worsened 2 days later on Wednesday. The rematch on June 25th at Gainbridge Fieldhouse features the same 2 teams, the same venue, but an entirely different vibe. Clark was on track for another 20-point, 10-assist effort when she entered the air with something to prove, which would have continued her legendary run, and Alyssa Thomas began acting aggressively early in the. When Thomas threw an elbow at Clark during a play, it was clear that it was unacceptable by any standard. Officials let it go with a typical no call.
Yo, AT tried to take Caitlin Clark out. Look at that elbow. Oh my.
The elbow extend from behind, and that's not gonna
She
get
tried to take her out with the elbow.
Then came the moment that has now been replayed millions of times on every conceivable media. Clark found herself on the ground, frantically searching for a loose ball. Thomas came close to her, and Thomas squeezed her shut. Fist down onto Caitlin Clark's throat in front of the referees. There was no shove or bump, just a fist to the throat. The play went uncalled because it was still technically live and no referee sounded their whistle. A punch at the throat was witnessed in real time during the game while the referees were present, yet nothing was done about it. Then something worse happened. A second camera angle that was later examined revealed what seemed to be a. During that same struggle, Clark's knee was slammed into his groin.
See that? That's a fist pressed down onto Caitlin's neck, once again courtesy of Alyssa Thomas. But there was more to it. From that other angle, you can clearly see the knee pressed into the groin. And of course...
And once more, nothing. There was no call, no stoppage, and no response. Clark completed the first half of the game before stealthily leaving. She had scored 19 points and dished out 8 assists in just 20 minutes before missing the third quarter due to a back issue. No one on the show could confirm whether her departure was related to the physical treatment she had endured. However, it was impossible to ignore the timeline. She took a knee to the torso and a fist to the throat before leaving with a back issue and never returned. The videos went viral more quickly than anything the WNBA had produced during the season. The video had already gone viral by the next day, Thursday, when the league responded. Alyssa Thomas was punished for 1 season after the WNBA declared that she had committed a flagrant foul game. According to the league's official wording, she made careless contact with her fist to Caitlin Clark's throat. 1 game was a punishment handed down for making a closed fist contact with another player's throat, which the officiating team reviews in real time. Cruz refused to take action and only changed his mind after social media made the non-call impossible to defend. The following day, a 1-game penalty for a fist of the throat was imposed after the game had already been determined after the clips had already been received and Clark had already missed the second half. Millions of people who had never seen a WNBA game before called it what they thought it was: neither protection, justice, or damage control, the type of reaction that appears to be action but primarily As optics management, since the harm had already been done in real time while the officials were broadcasting. The element that keeps coming up is that they watched and remained silent. This was not a missed call in traffic where the contact was concealed. Slow-motion replay was not necessary to comprehend this unclear circumstance. A fist pressed into a throat should not need a Twitter outcry to turn into a blatant 2. People should have called